The entertainment industry often tries their best to give a detailed portrayal of what soldiers endure. Some soldiers say you'll never know what it's like until you experience it for yourself. Air Force Master Sergeant Cliff Monroe is here to tell us about his experience. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, explain what your job is in the Air Force.
Basically, I'm a carpenter. Work most construction, small projects, maintenance on the base. Deployed, we're the ones that build the base and keep it up and running while the plane's flying.
All right. Well, that sounds familiar to a lot of people, being a carpenter and building things. But on your 4th deployment, and this was in Afghanistan, correct? Yes. You were attacked 35 times. That's a lot of times for, it seems, anyone to be attacked. Is that typical for someone in your role?
No, normally, like I said, when we're deployed, we're either building a base, building up a base, maintaining a base. This time, it was somewhat of a humanitarian mission. We were helping the locals, local government kind of extend their reach, getting the people to buy in. We were facilitating schools, wells, stuff like that with the local government.
And one of the attacks was actually by a suicide bomber. Can you give us that scenario, set the scene, what you were working on, and then what happened?
We were buying medical supplies. We had started a program, my medic, he had started a program to kind of start handing supplies out as we were going out into different villages, seeing what medical needs they had, and trying to give them any help we could. So we were down in a village at a pharmacy buying medical supplies for this. And the suicide bomber came out of one of the stores and detonated. Okay,
and two of your team members actually died in that suicide bombing. And what does that do to a team? I mean, you're all out there as a team, and this happens.
It was tough. I mean, at first, all there was dust, and as the dust was settling, our comm guy, I saw him, I grabbed him, pulled him behind me. Medic was inside the pharmacy getting the supplies. As the dust settled, my medic came out. He took off towards where the two bodies were. I went with him. One of our guys who had survived, he was wounded, got some shrapnel in the arm. The two that were right there, we were trying to give them whatever medical help we could, but it was already too late.
How well were you ready for that kind of a situation? Have you ever been in a situation like that before?
No.
Yeah.
If you'd asked me before, I'd have probably said I wasn't ready. But
yeah.
There was enough training beforehand, so when it happened, there wasn't a whole lot of thought going into it. It was just do.
Sure.
You know, it was find everybody, get accountability, you know, make sure everybody's okay, make sure there's not another attack coming. And up until we got back to the fob, that was when it kind of really
starts to hit home.
Yeah, hit, and then it was rough after that.
You also, you've received recognition for events that happened last July, and that was a different situation. Tell us about that.
We went to a village. Local governor was talking to the village elders, kind of asking them what their problems were, what they needed, what they thought the government needed to do, so on and so forth. My job was to kind of go around the village, look at infrastructure, count wells, see if there was anything along those lines that we could kind of use to show them that the government does care and the government's trying to work with them. After the SURE had wrapped up, we were leaving the village. We had the Afghan police in front of us. Insurgents had detonated an IED, took out one of the rangers that the Afghan police were in, and then from a grape giant building, they were shooting RPGs at us. They were flying over tops of the vehicles. This was actually when I was sitting in the vehicle, and our captain, he was like, "All right, we're getting out." And my first thought was like, "Are you serious?" And it's like, "Okay, if you're going, I'm going."
So you got out of the safety of a vehicle
and went towards the rockets.
What is it like to have an RPG shot at you?
Not fun.
Not fun.
It's very scary. But at the same time, it wasn't scary then.
Sure.
It was, again, once you got back and you were kind of in the safety of the fob, you were just like, oh, what just happened?
Well, and you're in the middle of this fight, this firefight. How consistently, that's one scenario, but of course, you're not always in that situation. You're doing carpentry other times, which isn't as intense, I'm thinking. How consistently are you aware and maybe scared for your own life when you're doing this kind of work?
In Afghanistan that time, it was pretty much a daily thing because I wasn't really a carpenter there. My primary goal was, if we had a school going up or if we had wells going in, was to make sure that the contractors that we hired to build those were doing quality work. They weren't just, throwing something up and calling it good.
Okay.
But at the same time, every day we were out, and we were out. And it seemed like every time we went into a village, at minimum, we were getting a pop shot taken at us.
Sure. What do you take away for that day? You've been, like I said, recognized for that day especially. What do you take away from it?
Life is precious. You never know whether you're going to wake up. You don't know what's going to happen. You just take every moment the best you can. Just enjoy life.
Well, Cliff, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your experience with it. We really appreciate it. Thanks for your work.